I'm going to review every single episode of Clone Wars individually. So we're going to start with episode 1. I'm going to do it on this channel, and then once I'm finished with the show, I'll kind of do seasonal reviews on the main channel of each season. But what I really liked about this episode 1, now keep in mind I'm reviewing these in the Disney Plus episode order, so if this is not chronologically correct, I don't care. I'm watching it the way it is provided to me to watch. I like this episode. I do think this, it's commonly said that the first season of Clone Wars is not that good. And I agree with that. It's not a bad season. It's just not that great. But this episode's fine. You know, there's some really good parts about this that I do want to discuss. That's actually what encouraged me to review these episodes individually, is how much I had to talk about after I watched this episode. Because I was just going to review each season individually, but I was like, you know what, I have a lot to say about this, and I do want to say that, so let me get that out in a review. But I don't, you know, so what I really liked about this episode is it takes something from the prequels, the clones, that I thought was really dumb. Actually, let's not jump to that. Let's just start at the beginning of this episode. So it's about these aliens. They're kind of similar to those aliens you see at the beginning of The Phantom Menace. I don't even know what the hell they're called, and I could care less. They're not actual characters. Those are kind of racist, stereotype characters. But it's kind of the same idea of what was going on at the beginning of The Phantom Menace. Them trying to negotiate trade routes or whatever crap that they were trying to negotiate. I don't even know, honestly. But, same thing here. And so you got this weird, ugly alien that you don't like, doesn't really have a character, but you're watching it for whatever reason. And then you got this, I forgot her name, but this is an original character created for Clone Wars. She isn't really characterized. I don't even know if they really ever said her name in the episode. So we're just kind of call her Evil Sith Lady until I can remember her name. Evil Sith Lady is working with Count Dooku, trying to, you know, because Yoda is trying to negotiate with these aliens or whatever, and then so she's like, nah, me and Count Dooku have a plan to not do that. So their plan is kind of just to kill Yoda. So him and these clone troopers are kind of just out here wandering around trying to get back there in time and defeating her army, with some interesting hints of characterization. Yoda is very good in this, because in the prequels he is terrible. He's a terrible character in the prequels. He doesn't act like Yoda the way we were introduced to him in The Empire Strikes Back. And it's not like you could see him becoming that Yoda later on. He's just terrible in it. And this is a better representation of what he is. Because, yes, he is serious. But then he jokes, and then he says things that are just kind of goofy and silly. He walks around, and so, you know, he's not an idiot, he's not a genius, he's just kind of all mixed together. He is a master, and you really enjoy I really enjoy him in the show more than I even enjoy him in the prequels. Then you got the clones. The clones are super interesting because this is a natural progression of those characters, where you got these clones that all look alike, and they're all fighting the same war, and they're having trouble differentiating each other from each other. And when they're in that cave, and Yoda gives a speech, yes, the same you look, but the Force sees you all differently. That is something Yoda would say, and it's a very smart, kind of interesting idea. So that's kind of what these characters are going to be dealing with throughout the majority of this show, is that these are all clones. They look exactly the same. They have the exact same body structure and face. And so they're, you know, things like that. And I really am interested in that. And that's an interesting idea. Something that I thought sucked in the prequels, the idea of them being clones and things like that, is taken into an interesting, good direction that could go some places really interesting. And spoilers, it does. Because I've actually seen the Clone Wars. Not the whole way through, but I've seen bits and pieces of the show. And it's a very smart direction to take these characters. Yoda is written especially well in this episode, and the original character we're getting here is pretty good. And so I've really enjoyed what they're doing here and what they're setting up here. I think the show, even from the very first episode, was setting up interesting directions for the series to take. And I really love that quite a bit. I like that they're setting up these interesting scenarios for these characters and things that I didn't like in the prequels to be fleshed out and done better through the show.